my name is Kurt Dela Cruz, and I will be discussing the chapters 38 to 40. In the book Where the Crawdads Sing, in the prior chapters, Kaya attempts to evade the police, and it can be interpreted as guilty. She was eventually caught, but what can you say? She spent her entire life hiding as an attempt at self-preservation. As we all know, Kaya was arrested for murder, and she had been in jail for the past 2 months. In the beginning of the chapter 38, Kaya's trial awaits her in the courtroom. Upon entering, Kaya feels as if the townspeople were delighted to see her in cuffs, simply because she was different. She had already known the townspeople were eager to only see the worst out of her. For years, Kaya had experienced being talked to and referred to as the Marsh Girl, and these prejudiced views were present in the courtroom, which made tensions high. We have read that Kaya and Chase had seen one another at Cypress Cove, which can leave a reason to believe Kaya had a motive to murder Chase. During their interaction, Chase had refused to leave as Kaya had asked. What we can pull from the story is that Chase did not care what Kaya had felt and how she felt uncomfortable in that situation. But reading about Chase's character and establishing that he was a selfish person when it came to what he wanted, the interaction between Kaya was revealed by no other, Ronnie Horn. Ronnie had referred to Kaya as Marsh Girl, which can already determine his bias against her. Many of the townspeople's judgments have been coming out, and majority of the jury members were these townspeople who were already prejudiced towards her. Kaya's lifestyle and the town's prejudiced views can affect Kaya's trial majorly. Reading these few chapters shows how cultural forces influences the characters in the story when it comes to society as a whole. Kaya was always seen as a bad person in the town. During her trial, the jury consisted of people who already had these preconceived ideas of her. An example of this is Mrs. White and Mr. White, who had already told their daughter that Kaya was dirty, and which they sat on the jury, and the jury determined Kaya's future. This can be seen in a quote from them from the book, but next to her at Teresa White, blonde white wife of the Methodist preacher who years ago had rushed from the shoe shop to whisk her daughter away from Kaya as she stood on the curb after having lunch in the diner with Pa. That was that one and only time Mrs. White had told her daughter that Kaya was dirty, now sat on the jury. This was the example that I used for supporting my claim of the preconceived ideas against Kaya. Another person being Ronnie Horn, who was truthfully but obviously biased based on the cultural factors of the town, which comes another quote from the book. Everyone in court watched Ronnie Horn step onto the witness stand and swear to tell the truth. Kaya recognized his face even though she'd seen it for only a few seconds. She turned away a retired mechanic. He was one of them, spending most of his days fishing, hunting, and playing poker at the swamp. Giddy could hold his liquor like a rain barrel. Today as ever, he wore his denim bib overalls with a clean plaid shirt starched to stiff. The collar stood at attention. He held his fishing cap on his left hand as he was sworn in with the right, then sat down in the witness box, hat on his knee. Being a small town, rumors, judgments, and opinions spread like wildfire. This is one of the examples from the book, which also supports my claim, and how these preconceived ideas of the society can affect the cultural factors of the town. And because of this, Kaya was judged before she hadn't even had the chance to settle. Reading these chapters, it really speaks on how gender roles and positions of powers take place. Not only was Kaya's future based on biased townspeople, but she was also judged because she didn't fall into the stereotypical gender role she was supposed to play. And that is my presentation on chapters 38 to 40.